Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow has practiced all week long. That means he's going to play on Sunday, right? Right? The latest from Zac Taylor, what he had to say on Friday, plus thoughts on Sunday's game against New England, regardless of which Joe plays quarterback, and much, much more right now on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. In this holiday season, make sure you shop Rivertown Inquiry and rivertowninquiry.com. You want vintage-inspired tees, vintage-inspired apparel, quality apparel, well, you're going to get it at Rivertown Inquiry. You've heard me talk about them for years. Doug and his team are amazing, and whether you go and see them in person, Oakley, or the Findlay Market locations, or just check them out online, rivertowninquiry.com. It's the right thing to do all the time. Again, rivertowninquiry.com. Let's dive into the latest from Zac Taylor, the latest on Joe Burrow. And I'm going to read you a really important quote, maybe a couple of important quotes that, well, they're going to explain to you whether or not Joe Burrow should play on Sunday. And I think he should play. I'm on record saying that. They're going to bring him back. And so once you resign yourself to that fact, Joe Burrow is going to play again this season. It's really a matter of Sunday against New England, Thursday against Baltimore. And when it gets to that, like when it's gotten to this point where practiced in full Wednesday, practiced in full Thursday, went through an extensive workout on Friday before the media was allowed in on Friday, or at least extensive warm up to where he didn't have to stretch with the team, and then is limited on Friday. I think a lot of people would see that and be like, oh, well, why is he limited? They wanted to get Joe Flacco some real reps, and Fridays are light practices. And so that's all I think that is. I think Joe Burrow's been putting in a ton of work. And here's the thing. If there was a huge risk for re-injury, then maybe I'd say hold him back. But I'm going to have a quote that says there probably isn't much of a difference between Sunday and Thursday. But before I do that, Zac Taylor, non-committal, said Joe's done everything he can do to show he's ready, and that Zac just needs to make a decision. Wouldn't shock me at all if Zac makes the right decision. I think the right decision is very, very simple, that Joe Burrow should play on Sunday. The Bengals need to look at this 5-day stretch, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, as a 5-day stretch to save their season. And I get it. It's laughable to you, me, and everybody else. But fairy tales aren't fairy tales unless they happen. Crazy comebacks aren't crazy comebacks unless they happen. If Joe Burrow gives them the best chance to win, he does. The Bengals, I think, feel like he does. This is more about a decision of, do they think he should play health-wise and can play and be healthy and then rebound for Thursday? And the answer to me is yes, for a few reasons. But I am going to read a quote. I sat down with Dr. Brandon Bowers, exchanged a few emails with him. Couldn't get him on. Our schedules didn't sync up. He's very, very busy. He's been on the channel before. And so I had a little Q&A with him for BengalsTalk.com. And I asked, how big of a risk is there for re-injury? He said, I view the risk of re-injury as low. The carbon fiber plate provides solid protection for the toe. However, because he may be returning slightly ahead of schedule, he could be a bit less mobile when scrambling and may have more difficulty escaping pressure. That could lead to a few more extra hits on plays he might normally evade. Okay, so he's a little less mobile. Everyone's going to think about Calfgate a few years ago. Fine. They know that going in. And guess who else is less mobile? Joe Flacco. Call the offense like you would for Flacco, but do it for Burrow and use Burrow's supercomputer mind to react to the defense. I think that makes sense. Here's the other element here. Does Joe Burrow coming back on Sunday, does that mean that he has way less injury risk if he waits until Thursday? Does that few days make a difference? Dr. Brandon Bauer says, quote, I don't see a significant difference between playing Sunday versus waiting until Thursday. Playing Sunday would let him get his feet wet before the Thanksgiving game. At this stage of his recovery, an extra 3 days of rest isn't likely to make a meaningful difference. If the Bengals medical staff believes he's ready, he should be comfortable and play on Sunday. And that makes sense. That aligns with me. That aligns with everything. And in the difference, the reason why I think from Sunday to Thursday he would be fine is because the Bengals don't do anything. He doesn't need to practice on Tuesday, because practice on Tuesday is the easiest walkthrough ever. You, me, Zac Taylor, and insert whatever other Bengals coach that you think. Marvin Lewis, he's in town to broadcast the game on Sunday. Jay Morrison did a great piece on him for BengalsTalk.com. Marvin Lewis can make it through that walkthrough on Tuesday. as a player. And so that's it, is the gap between Sunday and Thursday. It's just a few days. He's not going to get any meaningful reps, and he'll have time to rest, heal, hit the ground running in Baltimore. He will have those live reps that he covets so much in an in-game situation. And again, it's 5 days to try to save your season. Because if they did, I'm not saying they will, but if they did beat the Patriots and then they went on the road to beat the Baltimore Ravens and they were suddenly 5-7 on Friday, a week from today, guess what? Their season would be very much alive. They would be back in it. I get it. It's unrealistic. It's probably not going to happen. Fine. I understand. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But if you're Joe Burrow and you're in your mind discussing, all right, when should I come back? And if you're Zac Taylor and you're saying, when should I bring Joe back? If he's cleared, if he's ready to go, should we wait until Thursday? Well, your season's, if you fall to 3-8, it's over. At 3-7, you have 5 days to get to 5-7. And suddenly you look around and you're like, well, we're in the thick of this thing. Well, we're in the thick of this thing. Now, they wouldn't be out of it. They wouldn't be out of the woods. But still, I certainly think it's something that they need to consider in the sense that if you're going to play Burrow, well, then play Burrow and roll with them. If you're going to do it, then do it and roll. And if you're going to shut him down, then shut him down. They're obviously not doing that. They're going to play him. So guess what? Play him on Sunday. Up next, we will discuss Sunday's game. Plenty of thoughts on that. We'll get to it coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by Christian Husky of Sipsey Klein Realtors. You got to check him out. He's got some new listings, and he's here to help you. You check him out by going to sipseyklein.com/chusky. And if you need any kind of real estate advice, if you're looking to buy, sell, just need advice, go to Christian Husky at sipseyklein.com/chusky. I joke about it all the time that you can't guard me. You probably can't. But if you want to prove it, well, you get on the flag football field and you can do so on the go by getting Win-Win Athletics flag football kit. It is a win-win literally for anyone that likes flag football that wants to play with Thanksgiving here. You could say, all right, well, let's go outside and play a little flag football and show that I still got it. All you got to do is go to winwinathletics.com, use code CBT10, and you get 10% off. That's CBT10 at winwinathletics.com. I do think Joe Burrow is going to make a difference if he's out there, and that doesn't mean he's going to play well against New England. I don't know. Coming off of injury, 2 months plus, I don't know. But what I do know is if they're going to play him anyways, I would play him, and I do think he gives them their best chance to win, especially without Jamar Chase. An offense that Joe Burrow knows inside and out, where you can go out there with nothing to lose. I mean, that's it. Is when you have Joe Burrow as the underdog and nothing to lose, that's a hell of a spot to be in. It is. And I've said it throughout his career. I will continue to say it. Count Joe out at your own risk. It really sucks they don't have Jamar Chase, because I think if they had Jamar Chase for this New England game, you could really see the path. Man, Joe and Jamar just go off. T. Higgins makes some big plays. Obviously, all of their other weapons. Without Jamar, there is a path, but that path to victory starts on defense. And their last win came against the Steelers. And when that Steelers game turned on Thursday night, what happened? It was when the defense got back-to-back interceptions. Jordan Battle had an interception on a bad ball by Aaron Rodgers, and then DJ Turner went out and made a play. And that gave the offense the possessions and put them in advantageous situations so they could take control of that game. That's what they need on Sunday, early on. You need to get to Drake Maye. You need to find a way to disrupt him, get him off his spot, force a fumble, sack fumble, interception, whatever it is. Because this team, what they need to do is get off to a quick start, get the crowd involved, get some belief in the building, regardless of who's at quarterback. But certainly, if you look at it with Joe Burrow coming off of injury, or a Joe Flacco, honestly, who's going to be less than 100% with his shoulder, regardless, you have to find a way to force some turnovers on defense. And they haven't done that. I'm not expecting them to just shut down this Patriots offense with Drake Maye and Stephon Diggs and Trevion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson. No, I expect the Patriots to put up points. But you're going to need to force a few turnovers. You need Myles Murphy. I told him a couple of days ago, hey, man, that needs to be your coming out party. That can't be like a career highlight that we're thinking about. We need to think about that as your coming out party. And one thing I thought was cool on Thursday, I was in the locker room and I was watching looked across the room, and Orlando Brown Jr. and Myles Murphy are discussing something and like clearly discussing technique. And Orlando's dropping back and kind of showing him a few things and in his pass set. And I was like, So I went up to Myles after. I was like, what was that? And he was like, oh, I was asking him what he saw from me as a rusher and really trying to pick his brain. I saw Trey Hendrickson do that. I want to do that. Trey Hendrickson has been ruled out for this week, by the way. Samaje Perine doubtful. He's not going to play, just hitting on some of the other injuries. And so you need Myles Murphy to continue that. You really do. And it's going to be tough with Will Campbell and a top offensive lineman for the Patriots that he's going to be matched up against. Doesn't matter. It's the NFL. It's a tough league. You need to get pressure on Drake Maye. Obviously, you can't give up big runs, chunk runs. Trevion Henderson known for that. Ramondre Stevenson is a really good running back for my money. And then on the other side of things, obviously you have to protect Joe. Whatever Joe there is, protect him. Keep him upright. Give him time. No Milton Williams for the Patriots is big, but Christian Barmore is a beast. And that's a guy that you're going to have to deal with. They have some solid edge rushers. No complete, superstar edge rushers, right? But it doesn't matter. They have a good, solid defense through and through. I do wonder if Christian Gonzalez is lined up on Andre Josevach and then you just double T. Could totally see that. I could also see them doing it the other way. Put Gonzalez on T and roll with your defense and do it that way. Regardless, though, turnovers, explosive runs, which have really been a theme over the past month on both sides. You got to limit them on defense, get to them on offense. And I think you're going to have a shot in this game if you do that. The pressure's on the Patriots. They've won 8 in a row. They're the road favorite. They're supposed to come here and kick the crap out of the Bengals. So early on, score some points, force a turnover to put a little pressure on them. Go into it with nothing to lose. And I like Joe Burrow in that mode. And it would not shock me if the Joe Burrow Bengals win this game. It would shock me if Joe Flacco won this game. It's not going to surprise me if they lose this game with either quarterback, to be clear. But when I look at it, I'm like, all right, I think Joe Burrow gives them a better chance. There's a lot of things that need to go right. By the way, I don't think Geno Stone is getting benched, even though I called for it earlier in the week. Guess what? I need 2 picks, Geno. I need you to show up now. I need you to show up. I need you to make it worth it, because otherwise, well, what's the point? What is the point? Overall, I'm leaning Patriots in this one. I give you a prediction every week. Hard for me to say that the Bengals aren't going to give up 30. They seem to always give up 30, 27 plus, and however many games it is. I'll say the Patriots get to 30. The Bengals come up a tad short. I do think Joe Burrow is going to play. We're going to have you covered all weekend long on that, by the way. Even if he doesn't, I think the Bengals will score in the 20s, but they do lose 30-27 to the New England Patriots. We're going to have you covered. Make sure you check us out, Cincinnati Bengals Talk on YouTube, and listen wherever you get your podcasts. And we are planning to cover whatever happens with Joe Burrow. He needs to be activated by Saturday at 4 p.m., as would Mike Gesicki or Dejon Anthony. I think Gesicki's got a real shot talking to some of his teammates. We'll see. Dejon Anthony, I assume it's going to be another week just because there's really no room for him. And they do have some roster spots and a need at offensive playmaker with Jamar out. So we will see. We're obviously going to have you covered. Until next time, for Andrew Fox-Miller, I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for watching and listening to Cincinnati Bengals Talk.